hearing. All right, you ready?
Yeah, might as well do it.
Okay, Jim. Well, you know, we're kind of looking back first here at the beginnings of KVCC, and maybe we can start with what you were doing before you came.
Okay. I was teaching at a small college, liberal arts college in Minnesota, Albert Lea, Minnesota. It was ironic because it was brand new also. It was a small four-year liberal arts institution, and I taught poli-sci, political science, Dr. Robert Voigt and I. And I was there a couple of years and heard about this community college in Kalamazoo. So I made a long-distance telephone call, and I didn't know who to ask for it. I didn't know who was the president or whatever. So I asked for the president of the college, and Dale Lake got on the phone. And we talked for a few minutes, and as it wound up, I flew over here a couple of weekends later and got the job as chairman of the social science department. Most everyone else had been hired by then, including the people that I was supposed to supervise in my department. So it was just kind of a hit or miss proposition, but it could have gone either way, you know, actually. I was interviewed by Dr. Ed Heinig, who returned to Western Michigan University. He was a dean at the time. So that's about it. There's nothing very pretentious about it.
So you're just a secretary. We're going to clip a wire.
Okay, just don't clip my neck.
There we go. So, can you tell me when this was and who some of those other department chairs?
Well, it was in 1968, the height of the Vietnam War and the protests on campus at Berkeley and every place else. So it was, again, the word is ironic, I guess, to start a community college during that kind of time with all the campus protests. But yeah, there was Ray Marvis, who was chairman of the business department, and Paul Hurd of technology and drafting, and Dr. Hal Hutchins of health science and technology. Dr. Dick Andreasen was dean. Dale Lake was president. Well, everyone was hired but me, including, again, to repeat myself, including most of the faculty. But I came here about the 10th of May and walked in the flower shop over on the east side of town where the White's Road, where the faculty offices were. There wasn't anything here but a hole in the ground, what was to be Redwood Hall. And I took a look at it one day, the first time I saw it, and I thought they can't possibly begin a college here in a month. But as fate would have it, they did. But everything was very loose at the time, and I liked it that way because I just come from Minnesota and we just commenced the college over there 2 years before. So it worked. Exactly how it worked, I'll never be quite sure because it probably shouldn't have, but it did.
Now you say it was very loose and that's what attracted you. What else?
Well, the idea of a community college, I'd never been in one before. I'd taught at four-year institutions. And I wasn't sure of what a mission statement was until it was read to me here, what a community college really did. I thought maybe it was only a transfer institution for Western Michigan University, but it wasn't. And the idea, I suppose, this community, it was to serve this community and provide job and educational opportunities for people here first. And the primary intent was not a bachelor's or a master's degree. And that was new to me, and the idea was new. So I thought, well, it sounds interesting enough. Let's see what happens with these people. Let's see if they really know where they're going. And it took about 24 hours, and I decided they did. They knew exactly what was happening. It was well planned, but the organization, the structure was loose enough that you could function within it without a hierarchy or a bureaucracy passing papers down from level 1 to level 2 along down the line. And the further the papers are passed down, the less people know what is happening, and the Peter principle kicks in. You and I both know. So all of those things attracted me, and I think It was new. It was simply new, and I'd never done it before, and maybe in the final analysis, that's the best attraction of all.
Interesting. Now, you said your department's faculty was already hired.
Yeah, most of them were. Mm-hmm.
So what was that like, meeting them initially?
Well, they knew each other, most of them, and I had to tell them who I was and what I was doing here, you know. And they accepted it rather well. And then, after a couple of meetings, it worked out. It was very informal. It worked out if we wanted it to work out, and we did. As most of them had come here from high schools. Very little, if any, college experience on the faculty, and maybe that was just as well. I don't know. You know, one never knows. You can't come here polishing your halo and say, you know, I've only taught at four-year institutions. I've never been in a two-year college because that doesn't work with people. That simply cannot work. But they were good people. They knew what they were about. They knew how to do it. And again, if they were new, so was I, so was the college, so was everyone from the president right on down the line. So we were all kind of reaching out from day to day, but the college opened on time. And it actually opened with students, which I've always thought was an accomplishment, you know, but we got there. Now you can ask me how exactly, and it's been a long time ago, you know, in 1968. Stop and think, Lyndon Johnson was president of the United States, you know, and that's been a while ago. Before most people around here were probably born. But we got there. Again, I'm not sure how. We got there but day by day, but we did get there.
So the college actually opened that fall?
Yeah,
That fall?
yeah,
You had to
it
develop
opened that fall.
curriculum and everything. You
Well,
had to create a
yeah,
department.
oh yeah.
Now,
The
how
curriculum,
crazy was that?
well, crazy. You used that. That's a good descriptive adjective. Crazy with a capital K. Most of the curricula was done. Dick Andreas and Dr. Andreasen and the other department chairman had set courses up and courses within those curricula. So a lot of the way was paid for me. See, most of them had been on board for about a year by the time I arrived. And they'd done a tremendous amount of work. All the dates are filled in. The courses are even filled in. My gosh, they even had course numbers. History 101 or Physical Education XYZ or whatever it was. So that nitty-gritty paperwork thing was done. I didn't have to go through there, so I don't get any credit for that at all.
Well, what were your biggest challenges?
Opening a new college. Well, that's first and foremost, you know. We weren't sure what kind of students we would have, and we found out in a hurry. The big challenge was separating community college students from four-year college students, and I found out in a hurry. These were kids who weren't pushed into coming out here. They wanted to be here first and foremost, and that's really important, and I wasn't used to that. I'd come from a situation in which parents had said, the word from God Almighty in heaven, thou wilt go to college, you know, and these kids, whether they wanted to or not, went to college, you know, for better or for worse. These kids wanted to be here. And most of them held at least part-time and many full-time jobs, and I had to adjust to that too. They were here because they wanted an education. And you know, that bears out with the protest movements on the college campuses. Some people are still familiar with today. At Berkeley, carrying campus signs around, hey, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? You know, the bombing of North Vietnam. That didn't happen here. And it didn't happen here, I think, because students wanted to be here. They wanted an education, and they were paying for it. And that's a tremendous difference, you know, when you stop and think about it. There weren't any fraternities, there weren't any sororities. All of that was by the wayside. I had to put in the back of my mind. There weren't any football games to go to on Saturday afternoon. Again, no Greek organizations whatsoever. That was new. That's an adjustment. It's taking a college where it should be, which is day by day, a work a day, study habits, getting through courses because you want to. And if they wanted to transfer to Western Michigan University, I suppose they did.
A lot of accomplishments. What do you feel you accomplished here?
You're coming up with awfully good questions, early in the day. I think helping students adjust to this community through education, trying to show them, instill in them the idea that they were important, that their lives are important. What they did with those lives mattered, and they could improve those lives by coming out here. And it was the degree of improvement was entirely up to them. We could talk forever about educational philosophy, but you could pick up any good introduction to education and read all of that stuff, which is just philosophy. But I think that's basically it. Instilling self-esteem and the worthwhile of students in their own lives through a community college and its outreach programs. I think that may sound a little dramatic, but if it does, it does. I couldn't care less. That's what I believe,
What about the memory department? What stands out as you take that?
Your questions are still good, very good. The memory department. Well, the people I met, and there were 4 department chairmen. I'm the last one inhabiting the planet at this time. I remember them and their accomplishments as well as their idiosyncrasies, and heaven knows we all had them, the day-by-day trials and tribulations of small problems could become large problems if we let them. Such things as class attendance. You either had a policy or you didn't. Such things as meeting grades. Such things as grading fairly. All the little things that I never really thought about seemed to become maybe even more important here. Redwood Hall, that was KVCC. You know what I'm talking about? Redwood Hall, yeah, which no longer exists. Maybe that's just as well, I'm not sure. The early faculty, I don't know the things, some things I don't want to talk about, by the way, which is obvious. The things that happen to you day by day in a college or any workplace, the personalities, the people, some funny, some not so funny. I think the big memory I have is that in the final analysis, how smoothly things really went. Again, they probably shouldn't have gone that smooth. They shouldn't have gone that well. And why they did, I'm not sure, except maybe, just maybe, in the back of my mind, we knew what we were trying to do. And most of the time, I think we did it. Those are memories. I'm generalizing, I know, but they're memories.
What do you miss most about it now?
Well, first, retirement is the best job I ever had. Secondly, I guess the people that I worked with, the students, the faculty most of the time. I could say the students also, but the faculty primarily. The students are important in your life, of course, but you have so many in a class. I averaged about 60 students in a class. They become not names, but faces and personalities, if you know what I mean. Names come last. I think not so much the meetings and the bureaucracy of it. I could always sleep through those and go through those. You could always open your eyes and act like you're interested, whether you are or not. And we all know what I'm talking about. We all don't talk that way about it, but you know what I'm talking about. But I think the people I worked with most of the time are excellent people, really good people. For having little or no college experience, gosh, they really worked out. They really did. They did an outstanding job, and they get very little credit for it. And maybe, again, that's not so bad. If you're looking for credit when you go into teaching or a great deal of money, you better look for another day job, you know.
About things, anything, if you could go back that you would do differently?
Where do you get these questions? These are excellent.
Paul came up with a lot of them.
Paul came up with them. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Paul.
They're nice.
Paul's lurking in the shadows
Yes, he
laughing
is.
at me. Oh, I don't know. Sure, I suppose so. You can go nitty gritty and design course material different, and probably look forward in course material. What effect will it have on people in the future? Where, oh, you can take things in my field in political science or history like disarmament. And I finally learned how to do that in course outlines. When you speak of proliferation, which we have right now, the spreading out of nuclear weapons, that's dangerous because some of these people are crazy. You know, there's Gaddafi and these guys wandering around over there with nuclear bombs. You know, that's like selling chickens to Colonel Sanders. I don't know. I suppose I could be tougher in some respects, grade-wise and attendance. There are always things you could do differently, I guess. Basically, we could add new courses, again, that we hadn't thought of at the time, and we would drop some that we did think of at the time, and we did, you know. Sure, there are all those things that you could accomplish. I guess if I had 50 years to sit down and think about them, I might come up with a better answer for you. But I don't know. You have to live it. You have to go through it first. And then you can say to yourself, how did I foul it up? How did I mess it up? You know.
Of course, you were here when there were quite a few major changes. Do you recall some you might have been involved in?
Yeah, well, sure, there were changes in administrative procedures. And there were changes in personnel. We had a high degree of turnover in deeds. And, in the early years, and I've never exactly figured out why. There were changes in that respect, and that probably isn't so good from time to time, but these people were seeking other opportunities, and KVCC was becoming noticed, you know, and so they moved on to other places. California seemed to be a lure for them, or to them. But sure, you can always make changes, and there were changes, but you know, not really as many as you might expect from starting from scratch, which leads me to one real quickie here. Maybe we did some things right in the beginning. I'm not polishing any halos. I never do that. But maybe we did a better job than we thought we were doing. Because in looking around at the time, I kept saying to myself, did we really do that? Will that work? And lo and behold, most of the time it worked. Now, not always as well as we wanted it to, but it did work. So those things, I'm generalizing with you this morning, and I'm not telling you what I think you ought to hear. I won't do that. But yeah, we could always do a better job. Yeah.
Unless these folks have more questions, I just have one more, and I don't know anything specific I think we should cover that we haven't. I think most of it's, well, let me just ask mine, and then if you think of something. I guess, you know, I like to finish with, what is it you want to say? I mean, forget the questions. It's an opportunity for you to kind of expound.
Well, I don't know about expounding. That sounds awfully formal for me. Just ripping it off the top of my head, I think it's probably the greatest thing that'll ever happen to me. Paul Milliken and I talked about that at the last interview. Coming here, going through the day-by-day treadmill of a new college, and all of the people that were depending upon you to hopefully know what you were doing from day to day. And if you didn't know, you could always act like it. I think that's about it, really, in a nutshell. Coming here, enjoying Kalamazoo, Michigan. I like it so well that in retirement I still live here. I'm not going to run away from it, you know. Being part of this community, being part of this college, and the people, the most important thing was the people I worked with, the people I was around. that was a privilege. It was it was the utmost enjoyment, but more than that, it was a privilege.
Very good.
Enough said.
We there?
Jimmy, you stayed 30 years? 29?
28 years, 1968 to 1996. Yeah,
What kept you here?
I can't
Before
hear
that,
it.
you'd moved some. Say prior to coming here, you had moved.
Oh yeah, well we lived in Minnesota. We were taught at a college there, and then in Illinois. Yeah, and then to good old Michigan. I like Michigan. I like the Midwest, don't you? I like the change of seasons. I like it here. Michigan is a real good, down-to-earth place to live. You know, I like being from Michigan. Yeah,
How about professionally, what kept you here?
Kalamazoo Valley Community College. Could have gone other places. Could have gone to California. Could have gone to Arizona, which makes me think sometimes I probably should have. In January or February, that's why I'm using this. I fell and busted my hip all to heck, you know, on the ice one day. But the KVCC is not Valhalla on earth. It isn't. But it's a darn good place to work. And I suppose it's as good or better now. Yeah, I think here. Again, I'm not telling you what I think you want to hear.
Well,
I won't do that.
well, I don't know what I want to hear, so
Okay,
I'm not sure.
good.
What about the future? I mean, now you still have a great deal of pride. You get to watch the school grow.
Oh, I don't know. I read about it. I haven't been out here in a long time. I feel a little lost, to tell you the truth, coming out here now. But I'll never avoid it. I just do a lot of other things in my life and try to stay busy in retirement. Retirement's good. When you get to try it, you'll like it. The saying goes, try it, you'll like it. It's fun. This old adage that people are bored in retirement, they aren't talking about me. I'm certainly not. I like it.
Great. I think you're off the hook here.
Okay.
Very
I feel my age sometimes. Someone said to me one time, old men are like old dogs. They smell bad and you should probably make them stay outside. You know. No, I don't have anything. That's the best part of the interview, isn't it? No, you did a good job. It went smooth. I congratulate you, young man. I think it went okay. I hope it did. I hope it was all right.
Oh, I think you did. And I think you're.
We aren't going to win any Oscars.
You know, not over preparing was good because you're the kind of guy who just speak from the heart.
Well, you try to. You know, you try to. People know when you're being phony. You know, I've always thought the King's English. The King's English is a beautiful language. It's meant to be understood without giving people a lot of crap. Quite frankly, you know. You sure we're still
You have all
on?
these
Yeah.
great stories. I just know you want them.
Yeah, I used to tell my
One
students
story.
that.
Give us one story about something that happened back then.
One story about something that happened back there. Oh, I don't know. I was talking one time about a congressman from the South, and I won't use his name. The guy was a real racial bigot. He was from Alabama. Paul probably knows who I mean. Just a bigot. And I said, well, you know, he was just reelected. I don't understand how the people of Alabama, I have the wrong state, people of Mississippi reelected him. You know, he was dead. He'd been dead for several years, and I was talking about him in the present tense as if he were still alive, telling the students all about him. I didn't know he died. I didn't know he was dead. He didn't tell me. He didn't come and say, I'm dead, you know, I died, I'm dead, I don't breathe anymore, you know. Oh, little things like that happen to you. time to time in class, you know. And we always try to cover it up, you know, and make a perfect ass out of yourself, you know. But I had a good time in class. They seemed to like it all right. They weren't throwing spitballs and stuff at me, you know.
Yeah,
There's another one, but I can't do it.
Oh.
No, I can't. I really, it's really bad. What
did
she
the
said to me,
students-
it's really wrong. She really let me have it. Woo!
How do you think your students
Right between the horns, huh?
How do you think your students remember you?
I hope they remember me with a degree of, what would you say, happiness or something like that in class and informative. I think they got a lot of information. How much of it registered, I don't know, but I hear from them. I get a lot of Christmas cards from all over the world. I had a class I designed only for foreign students. You had to be a foreign student to come in. I had 2 kids from PRC, Communist China, the mainland. There was one basic problem, just one. They couldn't speak English. And the second problem, I couldn't speak Chinese. I don't know how we did it. I don't know. Certainly, I'm not very linguistic, you know, sign language. A lot of kids from Latin America, Venezuela, Panama, one from Israel, and several from Saudi Arabia. So I put them on different sides of the room. And they got along okay, you know. They didn't really go at it, you know, as they might have. But that was a good course. It lasted for several years. And I got to meet all these kids. And most of them were students also at Western Michigan University. But never had any Russians. Had some kids from Hong Kong, and a lot of kids from Taiwan, from the Republic of China. Again, Venezuela was heavy. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and I got a lot of keychains and stuff from the Saudi kids, and they all had a saber on them, you know, right? I asked him about that story. You want me to go on for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, that was on, what is it, British Broadcasting, BBC, British Broadcasting. Yeah, okay, thank you. The death of a princess. You know, they did behead her. And I asked these guys, I said, did it all happen? They said, oh yeah, sure. And I said, what's the death penalty? Well, infidelity. You know, her husband was about 65 and she was 19, and she met this kid, this guitar player, and they had an affair. They did it to both of them. So you learn some things about different cultures. You're laughing. She didn't think it was funny there until she got so excited she literally lost her head over it. Boy. Those things you remember that don't happen to most college instructors, but you have to have a course. And course, and kids amazingly open right up, whether from Arabia or Lithuania or Qatar, all these places most of us have never heard of before. And I hadn't either till I came to class, you know. Yeah, it was fun. It was, people talk about a liberal education. I'll tell you, pal, that was a liberal education. It seriously was.